Hi everyone. In this Sup with SAP video, we're going to look at transactions we can use to investigate our fulfillment process. Let's go ahead and get started. Similarly to the investigatory tools we used for procurement, there are going to be a couple different places where we can look at the movement of goods or the current status of our various transactions. For movement of our items, we're still going to be using MB59, which we used also in procurement. This will allow us to see movement of items both in and out of inventory. In terms of the movement of money, instead of FK10N, which we used for our vendors, we're going to use FD10N, which is looking at our customers. So a very similar transaction, but it's focused on a different group of businesses that are dealing with our company. And instead of ME2L, which we use to look at the status of our purchase orders, we're going to use VA05 to examine the status of any of our sales orders, either current or open. So let's start with today's example and go ahead and work through a procurement process. And we're going to start at the very beginning with a sales quotation, VA21. I'm going to create a quotation for the East Coast in the wholesale channel. And I've created a quote for 10 repair kits sold to Peachtree Bikes. And the reason why I've chosen this particular item is because it's what we procured in the last example. After saving our quotation, we could go and look at the 3 different investigatory tools, but we would see that there's no movement of inventory, there's no movement of money, and we haven't actually created the sales order yet, so we wouldn't see anything in any of those transactions. However, there is one additional tool that we can use from any of the transactions we use during the fulfillment process that will allow us to examine the progress we've made during that fulfillment. In order to use this tool, you need to access any of the transactions you've already created for your fulfillment. So far, I've only created one, which is a sales quotation. So I'm going to revisit my existing sales quotation by using VA23. 21 creates a sales quotation, 22 edits an existing sales quotation, and 23 views an existing sales quotation. So VA23 will allow me to view our document. It's going to bring up my most recent quotation, and I'm now looking at that quotation transaction. If on this screen I go to the More menu and I go to Environment and I choose Document Flow, which is often the F5 shortcut key on your keyboard, you will be able to see the current status of this fulfillment process. We have a quotation that's open and nothing else has happened. We're going to continually revisit the document flow as we move through this example. Let's move on to the next step in fulfillment, which would be creating a sales order, VA01. I went ahead and created a standard sales order where I adopted my quotation from earlier. I'm going to go ahead and commit to this order. And now let's go ahead and investigate where we currently stand. If I use MB59 to do a wildcard search for my material for today's date, we shouldn't see anything happening. Nothing has moved yet. If I use FD10N to look at the money trail for our customers, similarly, we won't see anything. Nothing's happening for this particular transaction process. If I go to VA05 and I search with a range of dates that include today's movement, and I choose the checkbox for my orders and look at only open sales orders, and I specify organizational data that includes all of the plants on, in this case, the East Coast, I will see my order that has been created. You can see that I am confirming 10 items today on the 6th. They're going to be delivered on the 14th to customer 4000 or Peachtree Bikes. So you do actually see open orders in VA05 at this state. Finally, let's go look at our document flow. And again, you could access this from any of the transactions that are part of the fulfillment process. That could be your quote, or it could be your sales order. I'm going to use our sales order. So I'm going to use VA03 to look up my most recent sales order. And I'm going to use my environment document flow to examine our current status. Here you can see that we have a quotation which is completed and a standard order which is open. And I'm going to go ahead and leave this open and just refresh it as we move through the remaining steps of our fulfillment process. The next step in fulfillment is to actually send the goods to the customer, and we're going to use VL01N to do so. I'll be delivering from Miami for, in my case, order 10. And I'm going to go ahead and ship 10 items from my trade goods location to customer Peachtree Bikes. And if you were paying attention, you noticed that I just made a mistake. I saved my outbound delivery, but I didn't post goods issue. Let's fix that. We're using VL02N to open an existing outbound delivery document and fix my mistake by clicking Post Goods Issue. If we go to our material document list, we'll finally see some movement of repair kits for today's date. We'll see that 10 units have left our Miami plant. There's still no change in the money for our customer balance, and that's because we haven't actually billed the customer, so they don't know that they owe us money yet. If I go to VA05 and try to look for my open sales orders, I'll get a message that there aren't any. If you go look at all of your orders, you'll still be able to see the order from earlier for the repair kit. But this order is actually closed in terms of VA05. So we have nothing left to do in terms of its sales order status. Finally, if we go and look at document flow from either our quotation or our sales order or our outbound delivery document, you'll see that the standard order is complete, the picking request is complete, the goods issue is complete, the outbound delivery is still being processed because it's not 100% done. And that's because while we've satisfied the material movement, we haven't satisfied the movement of the money. We've got 2 more transactions to go. Our next step is to invoice our customer using transaction VF01. There's nothing to do here but send a bill for the most recent outbound delivery document. There won't be any changes in MB59 or in VA05, but in terms of our document flow, you can see that we have moved along a little bit. Our outbound delivery is now completed. We have an invoice, which is completed, and we have an accounting document, which has not yet cleared. And finally, in FD10N, you will now see a cumulative balance. We have sent a bill to this customer, but they haven't paid the bill yet, so they have an outstanding balance of, in my case, $320. The last transaction we need to complete for fulfillment is to collect money from this customer, which we're going to do using F-28. I'm collecting $320 from my Peachtree Bike customer and collecting it into our general bank account. And that will clear this balance for this customer. If we look at FD10N, we'll see the cumulative balance has now cleared. My debits and credits have increased a little bit because I conducted business in my period 8 for $320. If I refresh my document flow from any of my previous transactions, I'll see that now everything says either completed, complete, or cleared, which means that I have completed the entire process from start to finish for fulfilling someone's order. As you move through the fulfillment process, make sure that you are using MB59 to check the movement of your goods. You're using FD10N to make sure that you don't have any outstanding balances with any customers that owe you money. You're using VA05 for both the East Coast and the West Coast to make sure that you don't have any outstanding sales orders. And you're using your environment document flow from any of your transactions to see where you currently stand in the process. If something says incomplete or in process or not cleared, you know you have additional steps to finish to complete the fulfillment process. That's it for this video. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.